Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today is the day that we're going to finally change out the stock OEM lead acid batteries. There's 6 of them in there. Now, just real super short, quick explanation real quick. Now, I already had changed the battery before, but long story short, somehow my files got corrupted and deleted off of my camera mysteriously. So I had to reinstall everything back. Now we're about to redo everything. Well, I'm going to redo everything again, but for you guys, it's going to be brand new. So that's the long story short. Let's get to it. So we are going to go ahead and replace those stock OEM batteries, like I said, and we are going to install a brand new lithium iron phosphate 4 battery in its place. Right now, the stock setup is at around, I think, 20 amp hours for these 6 lead acid batteries, compared to the new one, which is going to be 100 amp hours. So it will for sure extend our range. Hopefully it give us a little bit more speed, and just take it from there. Obviously I will do another range test, you know, with the capacity of the battery, and let's go from there. All right, so let's get to it on, let me show you real quick about the battery and a few things that we're going to be modifying. It comes with this new circuit breaker that we are going to replace the one that comes with the bike. I don't want to chance it with putting something this powerful with the circuit breaker that it has. It may not be able to hold it. So I'm just going to go ahead and install the one that it came with. Not only that, it does come with its own lithium battery charger. So it's a bit different from the stock one that we got with the bike. So that's good. And this is the part that does not come with it. This is extra. So I bought these connectors. I was looking to get Anderson connectors. Let me pop those little guys, those little connectors that we're going to be crimping onto this. So that's why I'm going to be removing these eyelets, these ring terminals, I would say, off of these. And we in place are going to put these type of connectors in place, therefore giving it this plug. So when you plug it in, I'll have a little animation once we get to that point on how this plug works. Is pretty much, you know, a much more safer way to have everything connected, because if you ever needed to swap out the battery or take out the battery for whatever reason, you couldn't just unplug it instead of, you know, cutting wires and stuff like that. So this way, you know, it would just plug in like this, and then when you need to ever change it, just take it out or unplug it like that and do your maintenance. All right, so let's so that's the deal with this. You can see here's the plug. This is the part that goes onto the battery. Now let me show you the battery real quick. Let me get it out here. It is a little bit heavy. All right, so here is the battery. It's a little bit on the heavy side, but again, this one is so much more portable and everything. It does have a handle that kind of spring loaded. And the other cool thing about it, even though it's pretty cool that it's on the battery, but we're never going to be accessing it once it's on the bike, that it does have a display. So as you can see, it is fully charged 100%. I actually charged this battery 2.5 to 3 months ago, and it's still showing 100%. Obviously, there's nothing draining the battery, so of course, but I wanted to make sure that it was holding the charge, and it is. So I'm gonna go ahead, and as you can see, it's showing 82.8 volts. Then push that to turn it off. I will have another video, if not already, on how to customize the little display, because there are options, believe it or not, on this little display that I actually could not find nowhere on how to program it. So luckily for you guys, I did contact the manufacturer about this battery in order to make that video for you guys. But anyhow, here is the plug right here like that, and that part, or this part with the circuit breaker plugs into this piece here, and then our circuit breaker obviously goes into the storage container or storage box of the bike. All right, so let's get to it. Let's start removing the screws off of the bike so we could actually install this brand new battery. So real quick, I'm just going to kind of pinpoint the areas that you're going to need to remove screws. And actually, let's go mobile on this one, because there is a lot of screws that we're going to need to remove. Not only that, you're going to need your key to remove the main seat. So let me actually do that. All right, so I already got the key, and I already got this thing to be removed. So let's go ahead and put that off to the side. All right, so first thing you're gonna have to remove is this screw right here, and it's gonna be with a Phillips screwdriver. So screw over here, one over here. Then after that, you're gonna have to remove this little screw to get this cover off, and then behind there is going to be a 10 millimeter bolt that you need to remove. So right there. Then next is going to be another 10 millimeter right over here on this side, and then over here. After that, don't worry guys, there's plenty of screws that you need to remove to get this thing off. After that, we're going to be removing the screw right up here on the top. It's going to also be a Phillips screwdriver. So one here, one down here where my finger is, another one over here where my finger is, those. Then down here, and then don't forget this little tiny one here, 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 and believe it or not, there's actually a screw right where my finger is on the bottom that you need to remove. So once you remove all of those screws, then carefully, take the fairing off. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. It's going to take me some time, and I'm sure it's going to take you guys some time. Okay, and also before I forget, there's going to be a small screw right over here that you're going to have to remove. Alright, with all of those screws removed, you should be able to pop this guy out. Just make sure you're careful because there are some clips up here that you definitely don't want to damage. Alright, so you probably kind of look in there as you're doing it. You give it a good wiggle and tug. This clip up here might be a pain in the butt. There we go. Alright, so it is off. Now I can't really completely move it off completely for myself because I do have LEDs connected to mine. So for me, I need to unplug my LED that I have over here. There we go. Alright, so now mine is connected. You're not going to have LEDs on yours unless you did my video on how to install hidden LEDs in this department. Other than that, you can see all the other LEDs I got going on over there to illuminate behind the fairing. Alright, so I'll put that off to the side. Now we have access to the battery. So let's get to it, and we're going to have to remove a couple of the battery bars, or the battery, I'd say not bars, but the cross member to hold down the battery. And again, it's going to be with a 10mm socket. Going to be one here on this side, here, and then same thing on the other side. I think for the most part we may be able to get to it without having to remove the other fairing. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. You can see obviously I have LEDs, so I'm going to have to remove these LEDs out of my way in order to get access to that, and so on and so forth. Alright, so let me go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you what to do next. Alright, now that you got all 4 screws removed, you can go ahead and remove these battery, or the holders, I guess you could call them. Alright, so here it is. We may probably be using this to put the new one, or once we get the new one in, but let's put them off to the side. Not 100% on that one. Probably just put them back just to have them back in place. Alright, now that we got all that out, now we need to remove each battery one by one out of it. But before you do all that, you want to make sure you cut the power from your bike. So you're going to go over here. Let's go mobile so you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, you're going to open up your storage box, and you're going to see that you have your circuit breaker here, and you want to put it to the up position, or however you see yours, and make sure that it's off. So you can see inside here. Let me zoom in a little bit. You can see that in the up position it's off, on the back position it's on. Right now I have it in off, so you want to do the same thing, because not only do we need to remove the batteries, but we're also going to be removing these cables and getting this circuit breaker out. But one thing at a time, let's get to the batteries. If you look at the batteries, you're going to notice that it has these like weird plugs on there, and you're like, how do I remove that? There is no screwdriver or nothing, so how do you remove it? Alright, pretty easy. What you want to do is you want to grab something that's pointy, just to stick it into the hole over here to kind of pop up this cap. So once you it might be a little bit tricky. Just do the best you can. There we go. Once you pop it open, you can see it's actually a little small screw. Now you could try to use a Phillips screwdriver to remove it, but since it is like in a hex pattern, I would say your better bet would be to use a 8mm socket, put it over here, and then start loosening up the connector, and then you're able to pop out the cable. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the positive. I'm going to go ahead and remove the positive, and I'm going to go ahead, even though this cable is not going to be connected to the battery anymore, I'm still going to wrap it in electrical tape just for security purposes. Anyhow, so you're going to notice that this cable here, this positive cable, and this negative cable right here, which is to the negative side of the battery, is going straight into the OEM wire loom. And that's where I'm going to keep it. I'm going to try to keep everything as stock as possible, which will make it easier for us to, when we start installing our battery. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this and then possibly removing all of the other wires as well, so that way we could individually lift out these batteries. All right, I got enough of the cables out of the way. Now to lift the battery is going to be a little bit hard, but just try to do the best you can. For me, I have small fingers. If you have bigger hands, this might be a little bit difficult. And if it does happen to prove a challenge, what you could do is you could get some black duct tape and put a piece, like get a long strip and put it and kind of stick it on there to kind of give you that leverage to kind of pull it out. I'm going to try it just with my fingers and see if I could get it out. I'm going to get my hands right in here. Try to get a good grip and see if I can pull it, which is so far good. And I do have my horn here in. Oh man, this battery is pretty big. So I may have to remove my horn out of the way to get this battery out and to get it out of its place. So you guys may not have this big horn in the way like I do. Unfortunately, I did do a horn upgrade on mine, so unfortunately I'm going to have to remove my horn just to get this thing out of it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, but just that's what you want to just kind of grab it and pull it out. Alright, so grab the one battery, and here we go. Wow, this battery is huge in here. Let me zoom out so you guys could see it if I can hold it with one hand. Look how big this battery is. This thing is huge. And can you believe there's 6 of them in our e-vader? And it is pretty heavy, I would say. Too bad I don't have a scale to actually weigh how much this battery actually weighs. Let me actually do a comparison real quick compared to this battery. Alright, so just with my feel, I would say the new battery weighs the same as probably 2 of these. So yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and put these off to the side. I know these are probably still pretty decent batteries just for having them off to the side, maybe to test LED equipment, or maybe if I'm going to do a motorcycle show in the future and I don't have access to power, I could just charge these guys up and use these batteries to power up my equipment. Alright, so, but if yours are completely shot, I am going to, do a thorough test on these batteries, see if the batteries are still good, and if they are, I'm going to keep them. If they're not good, I am going to properly dispose of them in a recycling place. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and start removing all the other batteries. You do the same. Alrighty, we successfully removed all of the batteries. Now there's nothing left in there but to actually clean the bottom, and we'll get to that in a minute. But as you can see, here are all the 6 batteries, and quite a workout that was to get those things right out of there. So that's that. Alright, so for me, and if you guys want to as well, make sure that you guys, again, that's up to you if you guys want to clean it or not. I'm going to clean it because I like the things to be clean. Then after that, we're going to get to removing the fused circuit breaker out of the storage bin. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we are going to remove the on and off switch in here, which is pretty much the main master on and off switch, and it's located in here. Now to remove it, it's not focusing correctly. Now to remove it, first what we're going to really do is we are going to disconnect the 2 cables that are going into it, which are these 2 right here. And to do so, inside here you're going to see it's going to be with a Phillips screw, one right there and one right over here. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen that up, and then I'll show you how to remove this circuit breaker out of there. Okay, now that I got those 2 cables already loosened, as you can see, they're pretty loose. Next we have to remove it. So it's going to be kind of hard to show you, but you got to see the screw over here. You see that? There's a screw right here poking out. I'm sure the other one's over there somewhere. But if you look inside here, which is going to be super hard to show you, but there is 2 little small screws right where my finger is, one here. And then the other one is, if you feel around for it, you could feel it. I think it's around there. But just look for the 2 screws. I think you can probably almost see it right there. So there's 2 screws, and that's going to be with a Phillips screwdriver. Go ahead, remove those 2 screws, and then you'll be able to pull out this switch. Okay, so I was able to locate the screw, which is actually right here on the top. The only problem is that it's not a Phillips, it's not a flat, it's not anything. I can't figure out what kind of screw it is. I don't know if it's something from China or whatever, but since I do see the location of where it's poking out, which you could see, hopefully you could see. Okay, let me get the flashlight. Alright, so I got the flashlight here, and hopefully I can kind of do this with the, so you can see the silver part right there. that's where the screw is poking out. So what I'm going to do is I already kind of loosened out the screw that was here, another screw over here to kind of move this plastic a little bit so I could get in there. I'm going to get the pliers, needle nose pliers, and see if I could kind of reverse screw it out. And once I do that, if I can, I'll take out the screw and then we can finally see what type of screw it is that none of my tools were able to fit it to remove it. Alright, so I was not able to take the screw out, but I just kind of wiggled it to kind of just pry it off, honestly. And apparently it was a Phillips screw, but it's some type of weird type of screw that looks like whoever installed it stripped it, and that's why I couldn't remove it. And as you could see, this one's a Phillips, this one's some weird screw that they decided to use for this. So these were the locations of where the screws are, one down here at the bottom, one here on the top. And now when you're looking at it, you could see that they're pretty much silver in color on the two locations, and these are gold. I don't think it really matters when installing it, honestly. So when we install our new one, let's actually check our new one and see. And we could see that our new one also has the same like hole locations as the old one. This one on the right says 3,000 amps, which is crazy. This one on the left says 4,000 amps, so there is a difference. Apparently this is more capacity. Alright, so now that we got this guy out, let's go ahead and install the new guy. Alright, so first things first we're going to do is we are going to remove this whole plug assembly from the switch. Now the reason I'm doing that is because we're going to be making this into its own plug, and the e-vader already has wires, so why not just use the ones that it came with? Obviously the ones in here are going to be the Phillips screwdriver, so I'm just going to go ahead and put that in there. Take this cable out, take this one out as well, so unscrew it. Okay, so now this is free. I'm going to look for some screws that are actually going to fit here and fit the whole width of it, so you could actually screw it into place of where the original one was. And I'm going to look for ones that are, this one's still pretty good in condition, so I'm going to try to look for something similar to this one to reuse. And if you guys happen to have that same issue with your particular on and off switch, try looking for screws that are of similar style. Okay, luckily for me, I was able to find two very small screws, as you could see right there, that will fit into the switch. Now I'm just going to see how badly damaged I did for when I ripped the other one off. See how bad, if it's pretty bad, because like it was originally up here in the top and one here in the bottom when installed. But I'm going to see how bad I did the hole. If it's really bad, I'm just going to take the screw out from this side and then screw it in from this side over here, and then I'll probably go the opposite over here and screw it in from that side. If I have some other screws, I may put another third one to really secure it in place, but for now it came with two, so I'll probably just install two back in. Okay, so when installing the switch back, the way I'm going to do it is kind of more of an easier way for me to remember, and how I tell people when I'm installing switches, easy way to remember that you have something off. So I'm going to put it so that the off is going to be towards the back. And the easy way to remember is back off. And then once you turn it on, move forward. So that's a very easy way. So, and also you could actually see over here that it does indicate, on and off. So you could see it right here. It actually says off. And we could even focus there, but let's go focus a bit better there. So you could see it actually says off. And then when you move it forward, you could actually see, sorry about that. And then when you move it forward, you could see it actually says on. So that way, so move forward, back off. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and pretty much position this the same way or the same direction as the other one. And upon doing so, before I actually stick this or screw it back in, while I'm in there, I'm gonna go ahead and put these cables in its place. This one obviously be in the front, this one obviously towards the back, so do the best you can. And then also once you get the cable in its slot, you can see the slot right over here. Once you get it in there, go ahead and tighten it down on the screw on both, on this end and on that end when you get the cables in there. Another thing I wanted to show you and why I'll be using the stock cables, well, not only that it's stock, is that when you, let me take one out so you could see that it's already flattened. It has this piece around it to make sure that it makes really good contact with the switch. So when you screw it down, you know it's going to be a nice secure fit. Okay, so I'm going to put that back in there and then pretty much put it into the slot. I already got one in. As you can see, kind of hard to see, but you can see I already got the one in, so now I'm going to put the other one in and then tighten down the screw right over there. Alright, here is the end result. It is super secure in there. I just had to put the 3 screws. I did 2 on the top and 1 here towards the bottom. So, working good. Back on to off. Forward for on. So this was getting on my way. So what I did, since I do have my little ram mount here, I just put the rubber band and put it here. If you don't have the setup that I have over here, you could get the rubber band and maybe just kind of find a spot around over here to kind of attach it to, you know, keep this from constantly coming down on you. Alright, so now that we got the switch already installed, looking good, now next we're going to do is we're going to start making the plug to be able to connect the battery. So you can see that from the stock from the e-vader, we got our positive and we have our negative. So I'm going to go ahead and clip these, and I'll probably find use for this. If you don't have any use for these type of terminals, you can go ahead and clip it as close as possible right there. For me, I'm going to leave a little slack and I'm going to clip it around over here. And I want to make sure that I have it both on the even. As you can see, these cables are not even, so I'm going to cut it somewhere where it'll be perfectly even for myself. Okay, you can see I already clipped those end connectors off of the cables right there. So next we're going to do is we are going to get some wire strippers, and we're going to strip away a little bit of each cable. We have our little connectors here. Oops, sorry about that. We have our little connectors here that we're going to crimp on. But before we crimp these on, we want to make sure we put a little bit of heat shrink tubing over each cable. If you don't have any heat shrink tubing, you could still use electrical tape to kind of wrap it up once you crimp these on. You are going to need a special tool to be able to crimp these connectors onto those cables. Now let me show you the crimp tool you're going to need, which is going to be this guy right here. So the way this works, let me go up, put one in my pocket, and they're spring loaded, so you can really get some good clamping force. So the little tongue, or this like little lip area, is going to go towards the back end of it. So let me go ahead and stick that in there, because we want to make sure that the crimp is there. So then we're going to go ahead and put that on there. Obviously the cable will be on this side. Then we're going to press down, and then we're going to make a secure crimp onto this connector. And yeah, that's that. So let me go ahead and do the other parts, and then once I get to the crimp part, I'll show you how I do the crimp part and take it from there. There you go, focused. So it goes, then it crimps, makes you can see on this other end, that's where the crimp part happens. And I may even do 2 crimps. I may do 1 crimp in the front part of this, maybe 1 towards the back. You know what, I actually wanted to show you this, guys. You're probably wondering, how much do I know on how much to actually crimp down? So before I actually do it, what I'm doing right now is actually I'm getting the cable, I'm getting the little part we're going to crimp, and I'm just going to put it over it. Therefore, it's going to allow you to see exactly where. You're going to get your wire strippers, and you're just going to get the end part of the wire strippers right towards the cap of where this part is. And you want to make sure you line it up so it doesn't go any further. And then once you do it, you can just go ahead and remove it, and then go ahead and strip the cable out. Therefore giving you the perfect amount of, you know, stripped cable. So when you put this on, and when you crimp it down, it will be perfect on there, and you won't have much more exposed cable from there. So once you strip this cable, you go ahead and just kind of twist the ends. Okay, strip and twist the ends for both of them. All right. So now we're ready to crimp these little guys on. Alright guys, sorry to cut the video short, but I wanted to keep the videos under around 20 minutes or so, as this one is a very extensive video, as I'm showing you very detailed on how to change the battery. So that's it for this part of the portion of the video, and stay tuned for the next portion of this video where we continue on and finish up the installation of the brand new battery that goes inside the e-vader.